Hello, besties. Welcome back to my channel. It's Astro Cass here, back with some more astrology updates. And yes, it is like 8 o'clock in the morning, but I thought while I can, and while my little boy is eating his breakfast and watching TV, I would just come have a chat with you guys and talk about some big astrology trends that are coming up for 2025 because it's a gloomy, rainy day. Can't do much outside in my garden. So I thought, let's have a bit of a chat. So let's have a bit of a look into the major transits for 2025. But before we jump into the juicy details, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming to my channel, whether you're a new subscriber, a new viewer, or a returning viewer or subscriber. I really appreciate all your support, and I would really love to make it to 500 subs so that I can start to grow my channel and do like memberships and add some more really cool astrology stuff on here because I put a lot on my other social media platforms. But I would love to put some exclusive content on here with astrology and a lot of my predictions that I've made in 2024, especially with the Trump assassination on my other platforms. So the photo platform and the clock app, I put a lot on there that was quite accurate based on astrology and what's coming up. So definitely follow me on those as well. I'll link the information below. But if you can, please subscribe and help me grow my channel. I'd love to hit that 500 subs. I'd really appreciate that energy exchange. And it lets me know what you're enjoying and it kind of motivates me to keep putting out some more videos for you guys. So with that all being said, don't forget to give me a like, a sub, comment below, interact with me. Let's grow my channel and get me up to 500 subs. That would be amazing for 2025 for me, or even before then. If we can get to that before Christmas, that would blow my mind. But why you're really here, I'm assuming, is because you want to talk about Saturn in Aries. I did do the Neptune into Aries ingress, so definitely check that one out. I'll try and link the video below, but if not, just have a look at my videos and look at the Spiritual Warriors one, the Neptune in Aries video. It is about 40 minutes long, but worth listening to. There's a lot of juicy content in there. I will also do some kind of shorts on all of these major transits as well, just to cater for the engagement for people that don't really want to sit there for 40 minutes and have a coffee and a chat with me. I totally understand we all get busy and very time poor, but I'd appreciate it if you could hang around and watch that longer video. But let's talk about Saturn in Aries. I'm super excited for this transit because for me personally, I'm an Aries rising. I have an Aries moon. So these ingresses of Saturn and Neptune into Aries actually really excites me. I'm super excited because being an Aries rising, this means that I'm going to have a lot of changes happening with these transits through my first house. And that's my little boy in the background. So sorry, but he's eating his breakfast in here. So I'm hoping it doesn't interrupt us too much. But as I said, being an Aries rising, having these transits through my first house is going to be super important. So if you're an Aries rising like me, I'm sure this information is going to be super, super helpful for you. Or if in general you just have Aries placements, then this will be really beneficial for you to know about. But even if you don't have Aries placements, you still have Aries ruling one of your houses in your natal chart. So check that out, find out where Aries is so that you know where Saturn and Neptune are going to be in your chart and what they could bring for you. Globally, there's going to be a lot of different events happening. But when it comes to Saturn in Aries, we want to kind of actually have a look at Aries by itself and then have a look at Saturn and also have a look what Mars is doing for the year. That is going to be very helpful in telling us the story globally about what could be happening here. Keeping in mind that different countries and nations and events like that, they have their own natal charts, so they'll get activated in different ways. But just globally, we're going to kind of see these Aries events unfold when we have Neptune and Saturn both in Aries for that short period of time until they retrograde back to Pisces. They are very slow-moving planets, so these situations are going to take time to unfold, especially the Neptune stories. Saturn is about a 3.5 year transit through Aries, so that'll be a bit quicker. We'll notice these Saturn themes a lot faster than Neptune, but Neptune's usually like 15, 16 years in a sign. So that is going to be a slower transit that is going to take more time to unfold and for us to see the actual events. But we will still see these little events here and there, I feel, in 2025. And I do definitely think that as it moves into that side, we're going to get that fresh energy and start to see these events unfold. Now, with that all being said, Saturn rules over, in traditional astrology anyway, it rules over Capricorn and Aquarius in astrology. So we know that those houses are going to be quite important because Saturn rules them. So it's bringing that theme into this Aries house of ours. But when we think about Saturn, Saturn is the planet of restriction, limitation, boundaries, responsibility, hard work, dedication. It's very practical. It's linked to time and karma. It also shows fear and things that we're afraid of. So with Saturn moving into Aries, this is going to show potentially some fears around Aries energy. Now, Aries energy can involve things to do with weapons, blood, heat, fire, WAR, conflicts, aggression, entrepreneurs, bravery, that sort of heroic energy, because Aries is all about being assertive and independent and brave. It's the fighter, it's the warrior of the zodiac sign. So those themes are going to come up with Saturn being there, but Saturn's going to restrict, limit them, set some boundaries there. Saturn also links to the 10th house and Capricorn. So we know there's going to be potentially some restrictions from people in power through the gov. I'm hoping you're getting what I'm putting down. Think, our leaders of the countries, they are possibly going to restrict us in some way through this Aries energy, through us. They're going to restrict our independence potentially. They could potentially restrict entrepreneurs, that kind of stuff. There just can be some new regulations and stuff coming in place around that. We might also see, because Saturn rules over Aquarius, some restrictions and boundaries set around internet, AI, protests, groups of people getting together, being unhappy with situations. Think like civil upset in places. We could have a lot of that energy playing out, but in an Aries type way. So it can show, our frustration. It can show us being brave and standing up for our society, and standing up for humanity. So keep that all in mind. There's a lot happening there. I do feel like with both Neptune and Saturn being in Aries, I guess from about May through to like August time frame, there is going to be a lot happening with big global world changes, because firstly we'll have Pluto back in Aquarius, because it did dip into it for a little bit in 2024, gave us a little bit of a preview in those first few degrees of Aquarius before it went back into Capricorn for the last time. But now it's back in Aquarius, and it will be for it will be for all of 2025. So we'll have Pluto back in Aquarius. We will also have Saturn and Neptune in Aries at the first few degrees, the same as Pluto in Aquarius at the first few degrees. And then towards like July timeframe, July, August in 2025, we'll have Uranus dip into Gemini at the first few degrees. So these outer planets are big, slow-moving outer planets. This is very rare to see so many outer planets shifting into new signs, shifting into those first few degrees, and also aspecting each other, because that Aries and Gemini energy aspect each other. The Gemini and Aquarius energy aspect each other. Aquarius and Aries aspect each other. So there is a lot happening here with sextiles and trines between the planets. So we know this is going to be quite huge based on the aspects, the degrees, and the outer planets shifting into these new signs. So that's really going to be exciting for us to see, because it's such a rare thing to happen. Some of these planets, as I said, are slow and moving through the zodiac signs. It's once in a lifetime combinations and aspects that we're seeing here. Uh, Things that haven't been seen for hundreds and hundreds of years. So, very rare timing. So we are actually, I guess, very, very lucky in some ways that we get to kind of see this aspect. And I'm hoping it is a good thing for humanity. Again, astrology is like a clock, it's like a map. It kind of shows us the energy, gives us a bit of information about what's to come. It's a bit of a clock and the timing. However, we have free will in how we react to these certain situations and how we use our own intuition and divination tools is totally up to us. And we've seen multiple times where collective energy, prayers, meditation can actually change outcomes of things. So, although the astrology, excuse me, although the astrology is showing us the energy that's around, we can still shift that and change that with our free will. Think about the hurricanes in Florida, that kind of situation, and how people were praying over that. And I believe it went from like a cat 5 or something down to a cat 2. I could be wrong, but I think it was a cat something and it went down to a cat 2. So that's incredible. So just keep this all in mind that I'm kind of showing you the energy based on history and previous aspects, and what we know about these zodiac signs and planets. But again, these interpretations are kind of just showing the energy. I'm not exactly specifically predicting exactly what's going to happen and timeframes, but it gives us a little bit of an idea on what to expect and potentially the time frame. But it is very variable there. So again, use your own intuition. Take what I'm saying with a bit of a grain of salt. Do your own research. Use your critical thinking skills. Ask the who's, what, when's, where. Dig deeper. Ask the questions. Think about things. So don't take my word for it. Definitely listen to what I have to say. And if that links with your intuition and sits right with you, definitely take that on board and do your research and kind of see for yourself. That's my little disclaimer. And this is all for entertainment purposes as well. So keep that in mind. Now, again, when we move back to looking at that Aries energy, right, it's a very fiery, it's ruled by Mars. So Mars is actually going to tell us a lot over 2025 about what's happening with that Aries house because Mars rules that house. So we definitely want to check the, I guess, transits for Mars. And we know that early on in 2025, Mars does this bit of a retrograde from Leo at 6 degrees in back into Cancer, and then it moves back into Leo eventually, and then it'll go to Virgo and Libra. And we know that it is spending quite a lot of time in that Cancer Leo house due to the retrograde. I think it's like over 6 months or around 6 months that it kind of spends in that Cancer Leo kind of time frame. It's a very large amount of time anyway. So I'll try and link some more details and dates down below in the box for you guys, description box. So definitely keep an eye on that if you want more specifics. But we will have Mars going from Leo, back into Cancer very, very early on. And then towards the middle of the year, it'll be in that Cancer energy a bit more. And then, as I said, towards the last half of the year, it'll go from that Leo, Virgo, Libra type energy for the rest of the year. So we want to keep an eye on what's happening there with Mars's movement and that retrograde, because it is going to be quite important in telling us why Neptune and Saturn are so important in that Aries house. They work together. They're telling us some information there. So again, when we're talking about Cancer energy, we know this is very patriarchal. We know it's about the home and family. We know it's about mothers, women. We know the Leo energy can be about royals, leaders. It can be about celebrities, whether they're like celebrity athletes, book writers, artists, singers, musicians, actresses, actors, anyone that's like a leader, so politicians, anyone that's kind of running countries, those sorts of things. Literally the royal families, they will all kind of come into that Leo energy. Leo also rules over the heart. So we can potentially see some issues because we've got that Aries and Leo energy, issues with blood, the heart attacks, some issues with people's backs and spine. We can see lots of stuff happening there. And we've also got Pluto and Aquarius. Now that's all about transformation through people that could have some serious like illnesses. There could be inventions, medical inventions and breakthroughs here because Pluto in Aquarius, so Pluto rules over DEATH and transformation and crisis and endings. And then we also have Uranus, which is the modern ruler of that Aquarius house in Gemini, which again talks to me about potentially some breakthroughs with um, renewable power and that kind of thing. So there's more inventions and creativity coming through writings and books and more studies probably being published around inventions, medicines, those sorts of things potentially. So there is a lot happening here when you kind of decipher all of the transits and that are happening. But I do expect to see some issues coming up with like blood or the head, brain, because that's Aries. Aries rules over the head, the brain, the face, that kind of thing. It also rules over rashes and heat in the body and inflammation. Excuse me. So we might see some big changes there. And Saturn in astrology rules over the bones and stuff like that. Neptune rules over more of like our nervous system, but like our feet as well. Like Pisces rules over the feet in astrology. So we might see some big stuff happening here around all those sorts of things. So I know I'm throwing out a few different topics, but highly likely what we're going to kind of see globally is issues around blood. Will there be blood shortages? Because Saturn shows restrictions and limitations. And then in Aries, are we going to see like blood banks? Is there something going to be happening there? Are we not going to get enough people donating blood? Are we going to see shortages of blood bags and donations in hospitals? Is there going to be an issue with the quality of blood? Is there something wrong with blood? Is there just a shortage? Is there not enough people donating? Is there a higher need for blood that we just can't keep up with? Is there an event that requires us to donate and help people because there's an issue with blood? There's just something there that's standing out with that area. And I wouldn't be surprised if it links to our heart as well because of that Leo energy and Mars going through Cancer and Leo, whether it's got something to do with women and children or something to do with like the heart attacks, that sort of thing. So keep that all in mind. I definitely think we're going to hear a lot of conflicts and arguments between genders, a battle of the genders. Neptune in Aries and Saturn in Aries, because Aries to me is a bit more of a masculine sign. It's about being really strong and brave and heroic. It's about being a warrior, which is very masculine energy. I think Neptune brings that confusion, that fog, and has no boundaries, whereas Saturn's bringing boundaries and limitations and restrictions. So to me, there's a lot of confusion and a lot of restrictions and limitations around masculinity energy. Keeping in mind, we all have feminine and masculine energy, but some of us have a lot more masculine energy and some of us actually are men. So that's telling me that potentially men or people with strong masculine energy might have a lot of restrictions and limitations and conflicts and arguments coming because of that Aries energy, and they might have to fight, for their independence or for themselves or their, self-identity. There might be a lot of confusion around that. And I feel like that can be a bit of the battle of the sexes. So women versus men, that type of energy. And obviously with Mars being in Cancer, Cancer is the mother, the nurturer, the females, the people that give birth to children. Leo energy can represent children, creative projects, things that we birth. So again, there is that link to kind of children, childbirth. Is there more stuff happening there? We do know that there's a lot coming out about surgeries and I don't know a nice way to put this, and I want to be very sensitive. So trigger warning if there is any issues around children and child loss and those surgeries that you have to get rid of a child, an unplanned child that you don't want or can't have. No judgment here, but Mars and Aries also rule over surgeries. So, like knives and surgeries, it's technically it's blood and knives and cutting when you're in surgery. So you can go outside, honey. In a minute, just 1 second, I'll open the door for you, okay? So we might see some of that as well. Let's go. Come on. Bye. then we might see a lot of that. And because we have Saturn there, there can be some restrictions around your choice and independence over your body because Aries rules the first house, so your physical body. It rules like literally your self identity, your independence, your physical body. So there can be restrictions, limitations, stuff there, which we've already kind of started to see some of this stuff play out with a lot of bans and legal situations around women's body and our choices when it comes to having children and I guess terminating pregnancies, those sorts of things. So we could see a lot more of this playing out in 2025, and that gender battle of the genders, that type of energy. I do kind of see that happening, and I do slowly see a rise in female energy and power because of this bit of a battle and conflict there. So keep all that in mind with 2025. I think a lot of that's going to unfold even more. And some of it already has started to. I'm just explaining how the astrology kind of shows that and represents that. So I also think globally and weather-wise, we probably can see a lot of issues with potentially some places having drought because of that Saturn in Aries. Saturn, again, rules restrictions, limitation, and fears, and Aries energy rules over kind of like fire and heat. So we can either have droughts and not enough like water, there's too much heat, so we're getting fearful. There's a drought, and because Neptune rules over like the oceans and part of water, there's like a drought or issues there potentially when it comes to droughts and heat. Or the other side of things could be is that we end up seeing wildfires or just random fires that are confusing because again, Aries energy is fire and heat when we're looking at the weather, and Neptune energy is like confusing. It's a fog. It's like chemicals. It is things that are mysterious that we can't really see. So think about like maybe random confusing like a volcanic explosions, volcanoes, or random things blowing up and heat and catching on fire. So like planes or, certain things like that, buildings randomly, wildfires, the combination with that Saturn Aries energy weather can be like wildfires. We might see those things kind of globally. So those are some of my predictions that I kind of think with that Saturn, Neptune in Aries that we might see globally. When it comes to, again, more global predictions with both Saturn and Aries, in particular Saturn being here, I do think there is going to be a lot of government restrictions, especially when it comes to people protesting and how we use social media, the internet. Again, this is because of the activation with Pluto in the 11th house Aquarius energy and Uranus in the 3rd house in Gemini energy. They are both like social media news kind of houses, that Aquarius and Gemini, 3rd and 11th house type energy. So I do feel like entrepreneurs and social media content creators, that Aries energy of entrepreneurs, we might start to see some restrictions, limitations from people in power, the gov, that kind of thing. So kind of makes me wonder why this could be happening. I know in Australia, we're starting to hear a lot about laws coming into place for restricting children under the age of 16 and banning them from social media. Again, this is all still new, just getting passed. We don't know exactly what platforms or how that's going to play out. We just know that that's what the Australian government are implementing at the moment. What that's going to have and the follow-on impacts that has, we don't quite know yet. Whether that leads to more digital ID and more censorship and more eyes watching us. Maybe we're going to have to, even the adults, start logging into things, proving our identity using AI or face recognition, those sorts of technologies to access our internet, to access our social media apps. I don't know. But I definitely see that being a big thing. And I'll discuss this a little bit more when I do the Uranus in Gemini video, because I'll talk a bit more about the tech changes and social media changes when I do that video. And I'll also discuss it again with technology and power, new forms of like maybe clean energy and power when I do the Pluto and Aquarius video. I have spoken about this in other videos, but I'm going to specifically do a more in-depth Pluto and Aquarius video. So keep an eye out for these ones as well. They're my videos that will be coming quite soon. So I don't want to make this video way too long because I know everyone is very time poor. But again, when we think about Saturn, Saturn is the father figure. It's very masculine energy. It's restriction, limitation. Again, Capricorn's an earth sign, Aquarius is an air sign. We're looking at the 11th and 10th house. We're looking at Aquarius and Capricorn energy when it comes to Saturn. We're also going to keep an eye on that Mars going through Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and Libra for 2025. What's happening there, the aspects that it kind of causes, because this is going to be quite big for 2025 and what happens. But I definitely see a lot of issues when it comes to WARs and people having conflicts and disagreements. I don't think things will settle down too much. Unfortunately, with Aries energy really being highlighted, I feel like there's more conflicts to come and more issues there. Again, issues around blood and weapons, that kind of thing. Maybe more gun laws, more knife laws because of situations happening with the youth and the young people. Aries is young people and youth as well. So again, those are kind of my predictions. Is I do think, especially in places like the UK, some stronger knife laws. Maybe in the US, people are going to really try and push more for weapon laws, whether that's through the military, because Aries does rule over army, military, that sort of thing. Who knows? But I hope this has been a bit of an insight into kind of what the energy looks like. I don't want to give specifics just yet on exactly how this is going to play out, because I feel like as we move into 2025, things can shift really quickly. Timelines are shifting really quickly, but that's kind of the energy. And when I get more information, I'll definitely do some updated videos on here and give you guys some more of my insight based on the astrology. So 2025, Saturn in Aries, wildfires, droughts, issues with blood, weapons, restrictions around weapons, independence, the battle of the genders. They are the biggest things that kind of stand out to me with Saturn in Aries. Again, government kind of pushing restrictions, limitations, and boundaries onto people's independence, people's self-identity, autonomy, restricting people being brave and being warriors. That's kind of what I feel like could be coming up for us in 2025 and even into 2026, because again, these are slow moving planets. This energy is going to be around for a few years, and I don't think things will get better based on the astrology and a bit easier until maybe 2028. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. So if you have any questions, any thoughts, any input, definitely pop it down below. I love to talk with you guys. I love to hear what you have to say about this energy. And if you're an astrologer, what are your insights? What have you been kind of seeing and keeping an eye on? Because I know this is going to be super interesting. And Australia actually has an Aries rising chart as well. So I think for Australia, where I live, this is going to be very big and powerful for them. But we'll jump into that further into some other videos. But thanks for joining me today. I hope you have found this helpful. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.